This conference will now be recorded.
All right, folks, and so I'm recording our session now. I appreciate you all attending, and we are going to be talking about the immune system, and in particular, we're looking at the lymphatic system and the cardiovascular system working together to provide an immune response to any type of organisms that are non-self that can possibly make us sick in the human body. So I hope you'll find this lecture interesting. And it is quite fascinating that our body has this ability to be able to mount a defense against different microorganisms and such. So let's get into this chapter here, chapter 9. So you'll see here that, and know that we've discussed already the blood, and we've discussed the cardiovascular system, and we'll be looking at that also in more detail regarding lab work and such. But you'll see here that that cardiovascular system, as well as the lymphatic system that we'll be looking at in just a moment, work in conjunction with each other to produce cells and to produce chemicals that will be involved in the immune responses of the body. Now, you'll see here that there are 3 lines of defense. And know that it's not just a matter of only just one line of defense works at a time. They're constantly working together and working in conjunction with each other in order to maintain a proper defense for the human organism, right? Quite amazing. So physical barriers, the innate immunity, and the adaptive immunity, and which is really quite interesting how we can have a, and I can bring this down into an even more non-specific and specific immunity. And we'll see how the specific and non-specific immunity working throughout all of these different aspects will work to create a protective mechanism for the human body, and to not only just protect, but to destroy microbes and such and different antigens that could make you sick. Okay, you'll see here that this antigen is a protein. It's a foreign substance that triggers the body's immune responses. Now, so we're going to see here as far as viruses, toxins, cancer cells. These are cells that have mutated within our own body. Viruses can enter into our own cells and then create cells that are no longer working for the body, right? But working as far as for the virus that's infected them and creating more viruses, as you just saw in that image before there. And we're going to look at these different aspects and such. I'm going to take a moment, and I would like to just show you. So we're going to go through step by step the barriers, innate and adaptive immunity, but I'd like to share with you something, an image here that I think this is really good. So when you're thinking of the immune system, the innate immunity and the acquired immunity, right? So the innate immunity is what you're actually born with, okay? The acquired immunity is what is developed over time in your response to and your experience with different antigens that come into your body, and your body has to create some type of response, okay? So this is more of a specific response, where this is more of a non-specific. And you'll see here, this is interesting how that the physical barriers, so your skin, the mucous membranes in your sinuses, right? So in your nasal cavity, in your oral cavity, the saliva, flushing action of urine, as well as tears and stomach acid, all are present in order to provide a protective mechanism for your body against microorganisms. So the acidity in your stomach, we'll see it when we look at the digestive system, very important as far as for protein digestion, right? But know that that acidity in the stomach is also very good at destroying many microorganisms. That there are, yes, there are some microorganisms like Helicobacter pylori, H. pylori, that are really a culprit and a major cause of ulcers, little openings that sores and openings that can be present within the duodenum, the beginning of the small intestine, as well as in the stomach. And these can actually open up and then start to leak into the to the body itself, into the peritoneum, which is a very bad thing. Okay, so so that kind of a bacterium can survive in an acidic environment, but most can't. So know that when we take in drink, when we take in food, they all have some type of bacteria present on them. There's bacteria in the air that we breathe. There's bacteria on your body. There's healthy bacteria that live on you, that live in you, but there's also pathogenic bacteria that can make you sick. And so hence that stomach acid, very important. So you'll see here, stops infection before it enters the body. So I'm going to provide this image for you, as well as this is a more detailed image that I don't need you to study, but you can just look at it. I want to give you this information that you can see the different types of cells. So that's why I'm going to provide that image. And remember, again, this image I will also provide. Don't study it, but it's just there for your ability to be able to look at it and go, oh, okay, that makes some sense regarding viruses are concerned. But this image, I do want you to have an understanding of. This is an important image, and this is really going to be something that that also is a part of what you're going to see within the PowerPoint. So this can be very helpful to take a look at this, okay? And so you're seeing here, as far as present within the blood, we have specific types of cells, right, that are present, that are white blood cells that are, and also different types of chemicals. This cascade, these proteins, these are proteins that also work to act as a protective mechanism for the innate immunity, the more non-specific immunity, whereas this acquired immunity, this is something, again, like they said, that develops. And so we have these types of lymphocytes, these specific types of white blood cells, T lymphocytes and B lymphocytes, and they will provide mechanisms. The T lymphocytes will produce special types of cells, and the B lymphocytes will also produce special types of cells, in particular that will produce these plasma cells that will produce your antibodies. Okay, so we're going to talk all about this today. So I'll provide this image for you all. Okay, so let's get back into our, let me turn on my fan. I apologize. I get a, okay, folks, so very good. So let's move on into the, yeah, no problem at all, Brett. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so let's take a look at this next slide here. So we're going to be looking at physical barriers. So I mentioned that as far as the other slide that I just showed you before there. So the skin and having it intact, meaning there's no cuts, because if you have a cut present, that can be an area where microorganisms can enter into the inside of your body below the skin and cause some type of infection. Okay. The lining, so recall that I mentioned to you about the mucous membranes and the areas where there are the oral cavity, the nasal cavity, right? Those are just examples of some areas where bacterium can enter in and can make you sick. So there are special chemicals and such, saliva. There are, in the tears, there are special chemicals that will help to combat different microorganisms. And also, you'll say, yeah, so the chemical barriers to infection, okay? The innate immunity. So the term immunity first, so know this, if we should start off with something, it would be, so what does it mean to be immune or have immunity? And we all have a general understanding of this. So the body's overall ability to resist and combat something that's not itself. And so I'll refer to this talking about self and non-self, because the cells of the body that are working in the immune response will recognize cells that are the body's own cells. We would say self, right? Oh, that looks like that's a cell that belongs to our body, or a cell that doesn't belong to the body, and so then we need to mount some type of response in order to destroy that and get rid of that cell so it doesn't make the body sick. Okay. So the innate immunity, I've used this term non-specific. It's very important, knowing that we would say that's kind of a more of a general term, and for you that are non-science majors, we'll kind of stick to that. But know that even the non-specific immune response, there are specific cells within the innate immunity that have a different role for specific types of antigens that could possibly make you sick, and so they'll fight. So there'll be certain cells for parasites. There'll be certain cells for bacteria. So there is specificity, but it's a little bit different. Where this is really something that you're born with, preset responses to infection present from birth. That's an important key here. So innate, you're born with it, okay? Carried out by white blood cells and proteins. That's that complement I showed you before there. Let's look at that image one more time. Right here and right here. Yeah, so you see here it says complement cascade. complement cascade, that represents protein. So it's a part of the innate immune response. So I do want to share this with you to make sure that you can look at this and review this, because this will be helpful when you're studying for this chapter. All right, so let's move on. So, and what this means, so the non-specific also, let me just give you a little bit more information. So not specific to type of antigen. So know that, like, so say having a certain type of virus, right? So your body will, over time, the specific part of your immune system will produce specific antibodies for that specific virus. In the case of the innate immune response, on the innate side of things, the immune response that you're born with, it doesn't release a specific chemical or cell for a specific virus per se. Okay, so that's why we would say non-specific. Okay, so the specific response is this adaptive immunity. And so what does it mean to be adaptive? Well, understand this, folks, that we have all, as a result of the coronavirus and this whole pandemic, we have adapted as far as our lifestyle, right? So we've made changes. Well, in the human body has specific cells, these, look at here, these T and B lymphocytes, specific types of white blood cells that can actually adapt and learn and mount a specific response to a specific type of virus, a specific type of bacterium. It's very important. So you'll see here, triggered by the innate immune response. So again, they're working together, folks. Know that the non-specific and the specific immune response work in conjunction with each other. Can this change over the lifetime? Absolutely, right? Absolutely, because you're continually adapting and coming in contact with different microbes and bacterium and fungi and parasites and such, and so your body immune response changes over time. You also can need booster shots if you've received some types of vaccines, because over time your immune response, your adaptive immune response, will not be as strong as it was early on after having your vaccine. Okay, so because what happens is that you have memory B and T lymphocytes. There's a memory that is established as a result of your exposure to some type of antigen, some type of microorganism, parasite that makes you sick, and you have a memory to it so that another time, whether it's a second time, a third time, a fourth time, a 50th time, that your body is exposed to this organism that can make you sick, your body will have a memory of it and mount a quicker response to that, whatever it may be, that antigen that could make you sick. Okay. You'll see here that in the specific response, there are huge numbers of white blood cells that counteract the invasion, and primarily it's neutrophils. These are a specific type of white blood cell that will attack the bacterium in particular, and so they have that phagocytic type effect. They cell eating, like a Pac-Man, right? I think of Pac-Man when I think of that endocytosis. They're able to take anything that's going to make you sick and break it down, and then in turn they'll actually present it on their own. So the white blood cell, it'll present it on its plasma membrane of itself in order to initiate and help to the adaptive immune response to recognize that there's a specific type of antigen that's present that can make you sick. I know that it's pretty intense, to be honest. So I want you to know at this level what's in the chapter. It's much more complex, and I'm trying to break it down as best I can. But know that really your adaptive immunity will provide us a memory. It'll remember an encounter with something that's going to make you sick, because then when you come in contact with that something, like I said, second time around, third time around, 50th time around, your body will be able to mount a quicker response as a result of an immune response. So let's look here, and this will be able to help you. So the innate immunity has an immediate response time, right? This is what the immune system that you're born with, and it mounts it quickly, but it may not be as effective. Know that. There's no memory. See here, no memory for the innate immune response. But you'll see here that over time, it'll help the adaptive immune response to create a more specific response. It's long-term, there's a memory, and it takes it takes a week or so in order to really get that going, in order to be able to have, look at here, vast number of receptors for specific, right? It's specific, it's not just general, it's specific for these antigens and really help to destroy them so that they won't make you sick. But the adaptive immune response, it can take a little bit of time. But subsequent other encounters, again, the second time around, the third time around, fourth time, fifth time, 50th time, whatever it may be, your body will have a quicker time of response. So the adaptive immunity, because of its memory, the adaptive immunity will then have a more quicker response than just 7 to 10 days. So here are those cells. These are the white blood cells, the neutrophils, the eosinophils, the basophils, macrophage, dendritic cells, and lymphocytes. These two cells in particular, as well as the neutrophil, will help to, and in particular, we would say that these two cells, the dendritic cell, the macrophage, also known as monocyte, which will become this macrophage. You'll see that it says here monocyte. They really help the specific immune response to do its job and to activate it, to be honest, okay? The lymphocytes, the B and T lymphocytes, whether they are matured in the bone marrow, which would be a B lymphocyte, or if they mature in the thymus gland, which is right in this region right here, okay? The thymus gland, not the thyroid gland. Thyroid is up more higher, more superior, but the thymus gland right through this area, they would be T lymphocytes. So those two types of lymphocytes help to work to produce a memory and have your specific immune response. I said to you that the neutrophil, this is the one for bacteria, okay? Any type of bacterial infection, neutrophils are responding to it, okay? The eosinophil for instances where we have parasites are present, and basophils as far as for initiation and being involved with the allergic responses. Here we have certain bacterium and such, okay? And see these are more of a rod-shaped bacteria, and these are more of a spherical or coccyx type of bacterium. So let's review this again. As far as I said to you that, so basophils, like I said, that allergic response, they release an inflammatory substances. So they actually, basophils will be involved in this whole allergic response. When you're exposed to something, an allergen that gives you this allergic reaction, basophils are increased in numbers. Eosinophils, again, I said parasites. Phagocytes for bacteria. So you can write that down next to neutrophils. They're phagocytes, they're phagocytic, they're involved in cell eating, endocytosis, and they would be for bacterium in particular, okay? And they're really, we would say as far as, you know how like firemen, policemen, they're first responders? We would say that the neutrophil would be considered a first responder to wherever you're having some type of cut to the body. Neutrophils are going to go to that area right away and initiate the inflammatory response. Let me just give you a little bit of a clue here regarding when you hear the term inflammatory response. Let's see. I know I had. Excuse me, one moment. Let's see. I thought I had it, but that's okay. Let me look over here. Here we go, cardinal signs of inflammation. That's it. Okay, so, and I'll provide this chart for you here. So when you hurt yourself, when you cut yourself, or you create some type of sprain or strain, there's inflammation that's present. And you or I, if you didn't know any better, would say, well, inflammation's a bad thing. And I would tell you that inflammation is not a bad thing. It's a part of your immune response. But know this, that I'm trying to get a little bit bigger. That's okay. Here we go. All right, but know that the inflammatory response is a good thing short term, not a good thing long term. So if you have chronic inflammation as a result of some type of injury to your musculoskeletal system, right, to one of the joints of your body, that can be tough. So like chronic inflammation of your knee, that's never any good, and that hurts and that's uncomfortable. Chronic inflammation of your back, of your neck. How about rheumatoid arthritis, right, of the joints of your body systemically? Chronic inflammation is bad. But short term, when you actually injure yourself or you cut yourself, inflammation is good. And I'll show you why. So there's going to be redness. It's going to feel warm. There's going to be swelling present. We call that edema. It's going to be painful. And this will also affect the function. So say I sprain my wrist. Okay, sprain my wrist. Now, understand that it'll get red. Because there could be possible damage to the blood vessels in the area as a result of a pretty severe sprain. There's going to be heat because there's going to be more blood flow to the area, so it's going to be warm to the touch. There's going to be swelling because there's going to be other types of fluids going to the area to splint the area. Know that your body will splint an area. It'll create this edema, this swelling, in order to prevent you from further damaging the area that's been injured. And it's going to be painful. And I'll give you some information why. So you see here, direct injury of nerve fibers themselves, pressure of blood that's pooling in the area on nerve endings. Also, there are different types of chemicals present that could make you more susceptible to pain and discomfort, okay? And as a result of this, it's going to have a loss of function. So can you see how inflammation short term, it's not a bad thing because it's going to promote healing of the injured area, but long term, it could be very uncomfortable and many people have issues, not only just musculoskeletally, but also like in cardiovascular system, and the body itself does not do well with chronic inflammation, and it can lead to many other issues with your health if you are under chronic inflammation. Chronic meaning more than just a few weeks, a month, okay? Let's come back here. So again, you'll see here that I said to you that the dendritic cells, they're in the skin and they alert the immune system, activating the specific immune system, as well as those monocytes, right, that become macrophages. They also alert the immune system and trigger the specific immune response. And then we have these B and T lymphocytes, right, that are very important. Again, I said the B lymphocytes, they mature in the bone marrow, hence the term B. And the T cells, the T lymphocytes, they mature in the thymus gland, hence they're called T cells. And they have a memory and they do specific functions for specific types of antigens that are going to make you sick. Simple enough. Now, the immune system is not only just the cardiovascular system, you saw those blood cells, but also the lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system, when you think of the lymphatic system, you might think of lymph nodes, and you would be correct that there are these little thymus. Yeah, thymus. So the T cells represent that they are being matured in the thymus gland. I'm going to show you that in just a moment, okay? So you'll see here that the lymphatic system, when we have these swelling in the cervical region, in the neck, right, whether they're anterior or posterior, the little bumps, no problem, Eric. They're little bumps. You'll notice that as a result of your body fighting an infection, that areas, those little lymph nodes, a part of the lymphatic system, are fighting some type of, whether it's a bacteria, right, or virus, or something along those lines, a parasite that can make you sick, okay? So you'll see here that it works with the cardiovascular system, like I said. So it's the lymphatic system, cardiovascular system that are part of your immune response. They pick up fluid lost from capillaries. So the capillaries are leaking fluid. They're leaking plasma, the liquid portion of the blood, out into the body. And the lymphatic system will draw up this fluid, right? Because it's going to then filter this fluid and look for things that could make you sick. Oh, I don't, Yeah, so I don't know what to tell you regarding the recording other than it's recording. I have it connected directly to my Ethernet cable, and I'll just have to, yeah, no problem, Eric. I'll have to check as far as on the recording once I've recorded the session. I have everything going on as far as I can regarding, let me just see if I can make sure that there's no other drain on my system right now as far as my internet. Give me one moment, I'll be right back. And then I'll finish up the lecture. All right, give me one moment, I'll be right back. Hey, I need all the TVs off. Guys, all the TVs are off. Why is that TV off? Because there might be something going on with my recording. Some typically a little bit of a thing. And I'm connected to the Ethernet, so. Okay, like I said, I will check the recording later on, but I will post it for you all. I'm going to hide everyone and go back to, yeah, okay. It also might be on your part if you're not if you're on your internet as far as the Wi-Fi and not directly connected to your Ethernet to your router, that can also be an issue. So the lymphatic system. So let me just show you. So here we would be representative of the lymphatic system. And so there are vessels. There are these tubes, these vessels that carry the lymphatic fluid. So this lymphatic fluid is just the liquid portion of the blood. It's been drawn into these lymphatic vessels. And then you'll see here that you see these little dots, right, that are present. These are your lymph nodes. And we have here the thymus gland right here, as well as the spleen. Now, the spleen is connected directly to your blood, all right? So the spleen filters blood. That's why you're not seeing it directly connected to these vessels at all, right? But the vessels here, so that filters blood looking for anything that could make you sick. And then the lymphatic system filters all of this this fluid from the blood, but it's not directly connected to the blood. So there's no pump system for the lymphatic system. It's not connected to the heart, okay? It just has these lymphatic vessels that will suck up, so to speak. They'll draw in this fluid from the blood that's been leaked out of the capillaries, very tiny blood vessels. It draws it in, and then as a result of your muscles contracting, your skeletal muscles contracting, and there are valves present within these vessels here, these lymphatic vessels, to allow for flow back up into the veins, which will take then the lymph fluid as well as the blood from the venous system and bring it into the right atrium. So know that that's the connection to the cardiovascular system, but there's no pump connecting to the lymphatic system. But know that your tonsils, know that the spleen, know that the lymph nodes, the bone marrow, these are all in part of your lymphatic system that are involved in, so the bone marrow producing the specific blood cells present within the blood, okay? But it's really then the tonsils, the ducts, these tubes, the spleen again connected to the blood, but the thymus gland and the nodes and such, these are all having the lymph fluid that's passing through. It's filtering it and it's looking for, hey, are there any bacterium? Are there any viruses? Are there any fungi? Are there any parasites that we need to mount a specific immune response to? So your lymphatic system is really quite important. So let's come back here for a moment to the slide before. So you'll see here that lymph is the tissue fluid that has moved into the lymph vessels. So it's this fluid from the blood that the capillaries have leaked out fluid, the plasma, not all of it, but some of it has leaked out into the body cavities. And then the lymph vessels will suck it up, will draw it in, and then will filter it and looking for anything that could quite possibly make the body sick. That's the big key issue there. Here's a lymph node. So this lymph node will have, you'll see that there are valves present. So we only allow for one-way flow of lymph fluid, just as in veins, we have one-way flow of blood, okay? So these valves allow for one-way flow of lymph. And then in this node itself, in this structure, we will have special types of white blood cells present that can mount an immune response if it is exposed to some type of antigen that is non-self, right? If it's a cell that is self, the body won't mount a response. But understand this, if you suffer from a autoimmune disorder, that means that your body's immune system is attacking its own cells, its own body parts. That's a bad thing. That's not a healthy or a good thing. And you'll see also that there are more vessels bringing lymph to the structure and less vessels taking fluid away from the structure, away from the node. This slows down the process or the flow of the fluid through this area here to allow for it to look for any bad proteins, any bad microbes that could make you sick. So the vascular system, the vessels of the lymphatic system, these tubes, right, they contain the lymph. They're bringing it to the different nodes of the body and to the different structures in order to look and see if there's any type of transports foreign material and cellular debris to the nodes and looking for anything that can make you sick. So its functions in drainage, delivery, and disposal. And know that in addition to your cardiovascular system, the lymphatic system, if a patient has edema of the lower extremity, have you ever seen someone who their feet are swollen or their lower legs are swollen? They're edematous, we would call it. There's edema present. There's something going on with the drainage system, okay? So lymphatic system, as well as the cardiovascular system's not working right. There's a situation where patients can have something called elephantiasis, where there are, as a result of mosquitoes biting a person and releasing their parasites within, right? This can block, and there are little worms that can block the lymph vessels and contribute to this situation where the lower extremities gets really swollen, really edema. Really, they're larger than they should be, and the skin itself becomes like an elephant's skin. It becomes very tough and just rough and dried out and such. It's really sad. So here again, you're just looking at the tonsils, the lymph nodes, the thymus gland, and the spleen. And again, the spleen is filtering blood. And then the lymphatic system, the nodes and the thymus gland, they're filtering all the lymph. So there's the nodes filtering lymph, the spleen filtering blood, and the thymus gland. And again, this is the thymus gland is where those T cells, those T lymphocytes, that's where they multiply and they become specialized. They mature there, okay? So that they're able to do a very specific type of job in the specific immune response. You'll see here that those nodes, those lymph nodes, white blood cells accumulate in the lymph node chambers, and they're looking for anything that could possibly make you sick and trigger the specific immune response. Yeah. And so the spleen also has that, these lymphocytes. See, also serves as a holding station for lymphocytes, these white blood cells, and it's just filtering blood. And if it sees anything that can make you sick in the blood, again, doing the same type of thing, mounting an immune response. This is pretty cool. So you're just seeing here how we have in the cardiovascular system in a blood vessel, we have these specific cells, basophil, eosinophil, neutrophil, right, present that will then be released out of the blood vessel through tiny gaps and openings, and then they will go and attack. You see these little green, those green things are bacterium, in specific rod-shaped bacterium. Okay, bacilli, we call it, B-A-C-I-L-L-I. Bacilli that will in turn can make you sick and can cause an infection. And so we have these neutrophils in particular that go out there and that will destroy those bacilli, those bacterium. Here you're just seeing as far as in the bone marrow, in the red bone marrow in particular, how we end up having these cells are produced, right? We have these cells being produced, blood cells are being produced, and in the thymus gland, the T cells will be matured. In the bone marrow, the B cells are maturing. Vaccination. Okay, so we all have been thinking thoughts about vaccination because of the whole pandemic situation, right? And know that the staff here on campus, we're all fully vaccinated. And after my procedure and such, I'll wait until my body gets a little bit stronger, and then I'll get my booster shot for the virus also, because I think it's important and it's going to be a good protective mechanism. So the vaccination stimulates immune response. And know that you're not receiving something that should make you sick, because really what they've done is they've taken whatever it is that they're going to try and fight, whether it's a bacteria or whether it's a virus, and they've done what they can as far as scientifically to try and have it so that it's very weakened, so that your body will be able to trigger immune response. Your body will have a specific immune response to the vaccine, but it won't make you so terribly sick. Now, it can make you a little bit sick, know that, because there are responses after getting vaccinated. Some people have more severe reactions than others, that it does kind of make you feel a little bit lousy, but it doesn't last very long, because again, what they've injected into you has been very weakened. Okay, you see here, many vaccines are made from killed or extremely weakened pathogens, something that can make you sick. Virus, bacterium. Others are made from genetically engineered viruses, and that's also pretty amazing how they can actually take a virus and use that to be a mechanism in order to, and that's quite an complicated procedure, but how they can use that in order to create an immune response for you. Okay. Look here, it says the first injection confers active immunity. So this is that specific immune response, triggering the production of memory cells, as well as antibodies and such. Then a booster shot can cause more of these effector cells, more of these specific types of blood cells and memory cells to form, and providing more of a long-lasting immune response. And that's a good thing. Now, this image right here is a very good image, and I share this with my anatomy students as well as with you all. And what I want to show you is that there is active and passive immune responses, meaning that, so let's look at passive first. So passive means that I'm not really doing anything except just receiving. I'm just receiving something. So in the case of the baby is receiving these antibodies from mommy, right, through breast milk, also through the placenta, okay? Now, as far as artificially just receiving, we would say that they are antibodies that you can receive, okay? So this is also regarding what's going on as far as some treatment with the coronavirus, as well as for rabies. My children were exposed to a bat that was rabid. They had to get shots, so they ended up receiving a vaccine, the rabies vaccine, as well as antibodies that were already produced. So this is a blood product, folks. It's different from the vaccine. This is a blood product that already has active antibodies that can immediately, once they're put into your body, can immediately fight whatever it is, whether it's a virus or a bacterial infection. So there's a little bit more of a risk, you have to understand, involved in receiving this type of blood product, this type of antibodies, because now the risks are very minimal. Know that the risks are very minimal, but nothing that we do is without any type of risk. We get that, we understand that. So these are all passive immune response, whether we're artificially or naturally. And again, you could add here not only breast milk, but also the placenta while the baby is in the mother's womb. Now, an active immune response is where your body is going to trigger artificially an immune response as a result of the vaccination. So the vaccination, you receive this weakened, this deadened pathogen that your body's going to mount an immune response or mount a memory to it, and that's good, but that's the active response. Or then it's artificial because you've received something, this vaccine, whereas naturally you're exposed to someone in your family who has the virus and you get the virus. That's a natural type of infection. And so that also produces this active immune response. Are there any questions regarding active and passive immunity? And if you do, please let me know, and I'll answer any questions, outside of class or next class, no problem. We're almost done, just a couple more slides and we're done for the day. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that. So you'll see here, immune system malfunctions, okay? I mentioned the allergic response and the role of basophils being involved in that, those types of white blood cells, promoting more of an inflammatory response as a result of your body being exposed to an allergen, something that can provoke an immune response. Common allergens like pollen, dust mites, foods, drugs, insect venom, so getting stung by a bee or some type of hornet or something, or how about a spider, and cosmetic ingredients. These can all be allergens that can make you sick and mount an immune response. Now there are also, you'll see here it says IgE. Well, what does that mean? Well, those are immunoglobulins. These are specific type of proteins that are antibodies, and a specific type of antibody. So we have different types. Well, the IgE antibodies are the specific ones for the allergic response. And you'll see here histamine is released. And this contributes to the whole, the watery eyes and the edema or the swelling that can take place, and just the feeling of not feeling well. And antihistamine, like Benadryl, works against this response, okay? Because sometimes the allergic response can be so bad that it can close up your airways and it can be life-threatening, right? So know that allergic response can be mild or it can be severe. That's anaphylactic shock would be the severe response, a whole body response. Sure, yeah, so I'm not asking you to, so here we go. Look at this right here. And so I'm gonna type it out for you. So let me stop sharing for a moment. And I'm just gonna type out for you this term. It's called immunoglobulin, okay? It's a protein. So look in the chat response when I'm done. It's a protein that is the antibody. Immunoglobulin, okay? And so let me share my screen with you again and show you that. So in particular with this slide here, you're seeing IgA, IgD, IgE, you're welcome, Brett, IgG and IgM. So know that the IgE, this is for parasites as well as allergic reactions. You'll have these antibodies being released, and they're kind of, this is a representation of them, okay? You'll see here the IgG, this is the one that's released, crosses the placenta from mom, and it's also one of the primary antibodies released throughout the whole body when there's some type of issue going on. The IgMs are the more larger ones. The IgA present in mucus, saliva, tears. Remember I said to you that the tears contain chemicals as well as antibodies, and breast milk. So these specific types of antibodies, IgA, okay? So let's go back here. It's really fascinating how complex. Tyler, is it not? It's crazy. So you know what, before I move on, let me just, again, remember I said to you that I was going to show, I showed this to you, but just like, this is just a little bit of an example regarding the T and B cells, and then the macrophages, which is a white blood cell, which can be an antigen presenting cell, as well as a dendritic cell can be an antigen presenting cell. And then you'll see helper T cells, you'll see memory T cells, memory B cells, the antibodies, the plasma cells, the B and the T. Yeah, it's too funny. So, yes, you're right. The immune system is quite complex. Yep, quite complex. When I come back on campus next time, I will share a video with you all regarding, it's like an animated video, but wow, it's really a good one that I share with my anatomy classes. And I think you'll just enjoy it just for the fact of, it's just interesting to see an animation representation of how your immune system works. I think you'll enjoy it. It's not very long, less than 10 minutes, but I'll share that with you all. So yeah, you'll see here as far as skin reactions, food reactions, as far as these allergies. And again, the anaphylactic shock, this is a very severe allergic reaction where it's a whole body response, and epinephrine or adrenaline, same thing, needs to be injected in order for it to really stop and hold on, put the brakes on this situation where the whole body allergic reaction can prevent you from breathing and can lead to death. Yeah, so it's really a severe whole body reaction. I mentioned to you regarding the autoimmune disorders, and I said to you that it's really the body is mounting an immune response against its own cells and tissues. It's terrible, okay? So there are thyroid issues where we have different types of autoimmune thyroid disorders that can attack the thyroid gland itself, and whether it can increase thyroid action or decrease thyroid action, as well as other parts of the body. And you'll see here rheumatoid arthritis or diabetes affecting the digestive system, in particular the pancreas and such. Terrible, terrible stuff, right? The body's attacking itself. To have an immunodeficiency is really when your immune system is deficient. It's not able to mount a response like it properly should, and it can lead to you being susceptible to many different types of illnesses that, with your immune system working properly, wouldn't normally have an issue with, okay? The HIV, the human immunodeficiency virus, right, which can lead to full-blown AIDS, okay? This really disables these specific types of T cells. These helper T cells are in particular the ones that work to facilitate and activate the immune response, the specific immune response. And so if you disable those cells, those T cells, via this virus, and really use the virus to take those T cells and create more of the virus, you're really disabling the immune system, and it's terrible. And it can lead to death. Two words here, since we've been talking about these words in the population, epidemic and pandemic. So think of a pandemic as worldwide, okay? Breaks out at different places around the world at the same time, a pandemic. Epidemic, think of more of a specific region, right? Disease rate increases to a level above what experience would predict, and it really can be quite bad in a specific region of the world. And here you're looking at also, so epidemic, pandemic. So pandemic, something more global, okay? Affecting the whole country or even the whole world, right? And in particular, we're seeing that the COVID-19, it's a worldwide pandemic, okay? And so you can read this on your own, and I hope this is interesting to you all.